Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel Literature Made Easy. In today's episode, we'll be looking at another African poem, I'll Pronounce Your Name by Leopold Sedar Senghor. Biography of the author. Leopold Sedar Senghor was born on October 9, 1906 in the southeast of Senegal's capital, Dakar. Senghor was the founder and a strong defender of the negritude, a political and literal movement born in the 1930s. He became the president of the Republic of Senegal in September 1960 after having worked as a journalist, among other things. He remained the head of state for more than 2 decades. He died on December 20th, 2001 at age 95. He is embodied with humility, peace, and he was also a perfectionist. He was the first head of state of Africa to resign on his own. Now let's move on to the meaning of the poem. So the meaning of the poem, I'll Pronounce Your Name, is the title of the poem. So if we say I'll pronounce, we are saying to shout out loud, to read out, and to articulate. So here, I'll pronounce your name is actually saying that somebody is shouting out loud somebody's name and pronouncing out loud a name and or articulating a name. So that's virtually about the title, I'll Pronounce Your Name. Now let's move on to the meaning of the poem. I'll Pronounce Your Name is a praise poem which pronounces at the same time declaims a female character called Nayes. The poet is so obsessed with this character to the extent that he's not able to make a statement without mentioning the name Nayes. The poet goes ahead to talk about how beautiful Nayes is and also the good side of Nayes, at the same time the wild side of Nayes. This rings a bell, right? When you love somebody, you love both the good, the bad, and the ugly of the person. So literally the poem is talking about love. So towards the end of the poem, the poet introduced himself as the words hero who has become a sorcerer to be able to mention the name Nayes. And the poet is actually praising the name Nayes, or talking about the name Nayes, because Nayes was banished from Elisa on a fateful day. So at a deeper level, the poem is talking about Africa. Yes, so the poet is talking about how beautiful Africa is and the good side of Africa, at the same time the wild side. Yes, the good, the beauty, and everything comes together to make Africa a unique continent. So the poets want to shout out the name Africa, articulate the name Africa, and read out loud the name Africa, so that the other world will be able to know how the continent of Africa is beautiful and is worth it. So that's why the poet wrote I'll Pronounce Your Name. So you see that getting to the end of the poem, the poet talks about the fathers. Nayes was a princess of Elisa that was banished from Futha on that fateful day. So even though this poem is a praise poem, it's also a wake-up call for Africans to get back to its roots and also its culture, since it has lost its roots and its culture through several means and several ways. So that's virtually about the meaning of the poem I'll Pronounce Your Name. So now let's move on to the subject matter and the themes in the poem. So the subject matter is actually celebration and appreciation of Africa, because you see that when you read the poem, it's the whole poem is talking about Africa being beautiful and Africa to be praised. Now let's move on. Let's talk about some of the themes. The first theme we'll talk about is the beauty of Africans' culture and identity. Africa, a continent of full potentials, the strength and power of Africa and Africans, beautification or celebration of Africa. We can also talk about the irony of Africans' fate, and we can also talk about lost identity as a theme. Now let's move on to the style that Leopold Sedar Senghor used in his poem. So the first style we'll look at is diction. The poet's diction was complex and formal. And let's move on to the tone. The tone was that of excitement, it was that of praise, and that of joy. When we move on to the mood was that of love, admiration. So now let's look at the literary devices used in the poem. So the first literary device we look at is simile. So these lines in the poem, your name is like cinnamon. It resembles the savannah that blooms from under the masculine order of the midday sun, and name of dew fresher than the shadow of tamarind are all similarly used in the poem. The next literary device we'll look at is apostrophe. The poet addresses Nayet throughout the poem, but Nayet cannot reply. Now let's look at metaphor. So this line is the fragrance in which the lemon grows leaves. Your name is the sugar clarity of blooming coffee trees are all metaphor used in the poem. Now let's look at personification. And this lines, it is the fragrance in which the lemon grows leaves that blossoms forth under the masculine order of the midday sun are all used in the poem. The hard clap of lightning is also an expression of onomatopoeia used in the poem. Now let's move on to imagery. Yes, imagery. So we see that virtually all the lines in the poem are actually appealing to one senses of ours or another. When you talk about your name is mild like cinnamon, you'll be wondering how would your name be mild like cinnamon? And it is the what? It is the fragrance in which the lemon grows sleeps. You'll be wondering like why how come a name of somebody will become the fragrance in which the lemon grows sleeps. So it's appealing to a sense of sight. And when we talk about it, the sugar clarity of a blooming coffee tree, it appeals to our sense of taste, because coffee, yes, it comes to the mouth, so it appeals to our sense of taste. So virtually all the lines, you are my sun, you are my night, a shining coal, they all would give us some imagery, they all give us some vivid image. So throughout the poem, Senghor used imagery to make the poem beautiful and interesting. Now let's move on to symbolism. Symbolism. So for symbolism, Sedar used words like savannah, cinnamon, coffee, and other words to illustrate or to represent the good side of Africa. Yes, so you see the savannah, the coffee, the cinnamon, and all those things, they all represent the good side of Africa. So he also uses midday sun, tornado, a hard clap of lightning, and all this to illustrate the wild side or to symbolize the wild side of Africa. So now let's take a look at the narrative technique used in the poem. Like other African poems, the poem has no end lines. Yes, it is written in blank or free verse. It is a 10-line poem that has one stanza. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. If I left anything out, please leave your comments in the comment section. I promise you another exciting video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.